Well, before we get too far with the changes and renovations that we're making, I wanted to give you a quick tour of the garage. Now, it's about a 950 square foot space. It's a 4-car garage. We have 2 bays in the middle, and then on the outsides we have 2 single bays. Now, eventually, my plan is to create interior walls that cover 3 of the parking spaces. So I only leave 1 open to bring stuff in and out, and it also allows me to seal off those other doors. Now, no matter how good your garage door is, there's almost always some sort of air leakage. So I think if we can actually put a semi-permanent wall installation with insulation in that place, I think it's actually going to weatherproof it a little bit better and give me a wall to work with. Because as we know, you can't really screw anything into a garage door. You can't run electrical through a garage door, right? So if I have walls there, it's going to be a much more functional space, but I still need access in at least 1 location, right? So that's a future plan, not going to get to that for a while. But let's just kind of take a spin around and see what we're working with here. I've got 2 large high windows in the back. Now, this garage is sort of on a slope. The property is on a slope. So part of this garage is underground, at least several feet of it is underground. In fact, the ground level is probably around here. Well, basically on top of this brown concrete section. So we're sort of sunken in just a little bit, and that provides a couple of challenges in terms of how we're going to mount some things to the wall, because this sort of wall down here kind of bumps out a little bit, so it's not completely flush all the way down, but nothing we can't get around. I really like the fact that the windows are up high, so that if I'm doing things focused down below, it's great natural light. Whether I'm filming or just doing very close woodworking activities, that natural light's really going to help out. Now, on the far end, we have another window, and there's a built-in bench area. That's going to probably be my sort of utilitarian bench area, where I keep my grinder, the vise, anytime I do any kind of metal work, which I don't do very much of, but should I ever want to, that's where I would do it. Mixing glue, things like that. The messy stuff goes over there. And then we work our way around, and of course, we've got a whole entire front section with the garage doors. Now, on the inside, you always have these issues with garage doors that you've got the hangers, right, and the tracks. So I will probably be disabling these doors even before I put up the new walls, just to get those tracks out of the way. I'm not going to use them, so I may as well, just put them away just in case for resale later, and we'll be able to utilize that ceiling space, because I will be running ductwork through here, all right? So that's pretty much it. A couple quick upgrades that I did right off the bat, because this is one of those things where there's a ton of things to do. You got to decide what's the most important. Should we start with these temporary walls? Do they go in first? Do I need my dust collector here first? Should I be worrying about lighting? Well, it kind of depends on your budget and what you need and your priorities. But for me, probably for you too, I think the first thing to worry about is power. When we were house shopping, one of the things we were really focused on was making sure the garage could accommodate a sub panel, because if it can't, then I was dead in the water. I can't put a shop in a place that doesn't give me sufficient power. So initially, when we were looking at this house, we were told that we at best could get like a 60 amp panel, which could have worked, but I think we would have really been pushing our luck with it. We would have had to budget very carefully what we connect to it, how many things run at the same time. So this guy is a 125 amp panel, definitely has what I need in terms of covering my dust collection, my heat, power tools, and especially for a one-man shop, it should be perfectly fine. Now, if I could have gone 200, I would have, but 125 was what the electrician was comfortable putting in, and when the electrician tells you what to do, you do it. It's not something to mess with, right? So you'll see there's really nothing connected to it at this point. I'm going to run some basic circuits later just to make sure we have some power in here. I just wanted to make sure that the sub panel was installed. Just helps me sleep better at night. Now, the installation itself was pretty interesting. They had to traverse from one side of the house where the main panel is, all the way in the corner, traverse all the way across the house to the opposite corner. And they did this through crawl spaces. Now, when you do that, sometimes if you're lucky, the wire can just kind of go through and it's not that big of a deal. But sometimes they need to cut holes to be able to access things they can't get to in the crawl space. And that's exactly what happened. So in my son's room, we've got, 6 or 7 big holes that need to be patched and repaired. But honestly, that was fewer holes than I expected and a small price to pay for 125 amps of pure, juicy electrical goodness in my shop, so I'll take it. Notice we also went with a surface mount here. When we're going to be adding things sort of after construction, I think a surface mounted panel is probably a little bit easier to work with, because if we want to add circuits to it and run more conduit, it's just right there. We don't have to do anything behind the wall. And it's a shop, so if it has sort of a a little bit of an industrial look. Who cares? I think it's fine. All right, so plenty of juice, ready to roll, super excited, and we'll have more on the outlets, and when I sort of refine the locations of the circuits, we'll talk more about that later on. So now that we have power, what's next in our list of priorities? Well, in my opinion, heat, right? We're getting into the heart of winter here. It's gonna start getting pretty darn cold, and while I do love the cold, I certainly don't want my hands to be that sort of stiff cold, right? Because that's unsafe in the shop. So we at least wanna bring the temperature up a little bit to make it more comfortable. So what are we gonna do for a heating solution? Well, we'll talk about it next time.